Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me for tonight's episode. Tonight I'll be narrating a story from one of my subscribers. And again, as always, I remind you all to please be mindful and respectful in the comments field below. Sharing your personal stories is not always the easiest thing to do, so please take into consideration the time that these individuals spent writing out these stories and sharing them with us. And to the ones who submitted the stories over to me, I just wanted to give you another thank you for the content that you've provided. And of course, you guys will remain anonymous, and slight details and the names of the individuals within these stories have been altered to protect everyone's identity. So please sit back, put on a good pair of headphones or speakers, and let's begin. To start off, this is my uncle's story. It was a school night in the late 90s, just another evening for my uncle, who was 16 at the time. He'd spent countless nights home alone before. His older siblings worked late and my grandparents were out of town. So, he was used to the quiet house, finding comfort in the warm glow of the TV as he chatted away on AOL Instant Messenger. The good old dial-up days. That night, he was lounging on the couch in the main living area, flipping through channels on cable TV, while periodically checking his chat room notifications.
You got mail.
The house felt normal, peaceful even, with only the soft hum of the television and the occasional creak of the old floorboards breaking the silence. Then, he heard it. A woman's voice. It was faint, distant, but clear. He instinctively turned the TV volume down, thinking it was coming from outside. Maybe a neighbor? A passing car with the window rolled down. Then, he heard it again. His brother's name. The voice wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside the house. A chill ran down his spine. His brother did have a girlfriend, but they had broken up weeks ago. And even if they were still together, she wouldn't be in the house. Plus, Meng was at work that night. Swallowing his nerves, he stood up, straining to listen. The voice was soft but insistent, almost as if it was calling Meng awake from a deep sleep. He took a cautious step forward. It was coming from the basement. His brother's room was down there, but the basement door was locked from this side, the hinge lock firmly in place. No one could be down there. No one should be down there. Slowly, with shaky hands, he reached for the lock, unhooked the latch, and pulled the door open. Pitch black. The basement stairs stretched downward, swallowed in darkness. Normally, the glow from his brother's room would spill onto the steps, but tonight, there was nothing. The air felt wrong, thick and heavy. He hesitated, his voice barely above a whisper. Hello? Silence. Nothing moved. No footsteps. No whisper of fabric shifting. No breath from something unseen waiting in the dark. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. His instinct screamed at him to close the door. He slammed it shut, locking it again with trembling fingers. His heart was pounding inside of his chest as he backed away, not taking his eyes off the door. That's when he freaked out and made the decision to call my mom, his oldest sister. The cordless phone, which would normally be on the kitchen counter sitting on its charger, wasn't there. That's when he suddenly remembered that it was on the couch with him when he was watching TV. He turned to run back to the living room, jumping over the couch, grabbing the phone with one hand, and then flopping onto the floor on the other side. The voice was closer now, clearer. Then, heavy footsteps rushed up the basement stairs. Panic flooded his body. He bolted. He didn't think, didn't hesitate. He ran out of the house, slamming the front door behind him, trying to catch his breath as he fumbled with the phone. He finally called my mom, with his hands trembling so bad that he was having trouble punching in the numbers. When she answered, he barely got the words out. Hey, Kia? Can you come get me? Something's in the house. My mom asked him what was wrong. Please, just look. I'll tell you when you get here. Just please come and get me. We were still just kids back then, but I still remember my mom rushing me and my older brother into the car as we drove over to my grandma's house that night. Meanwhile, my uncle sat outside the front steps, legs bouncing nervously, staring at the house as if he expected someone or something to press a face up against the window. We arrived not long after. I remember seeing him there, the dim streetlight casting long shadows over his pale face. His eyes darted toward the house, his expression a mix with fear and confusion. My uncle refused to go back inside the house, so my mom made me go in with her. Now, as a kid, I didn't even really understand what the issue was or what we were doing there in the first place. I just did as my mom said. We checked inside before leaving. Nothing was out of place. The basement was empty. The lock on the door was still engaged, just as he had left it. When Men got home later that night, he confirmed that he hadn't been there, and his ex-girlfriend hadn't stepped foot in the house in weeks. So, who or what was calling for him? To this day, my uncle doesn't know. But he never stayed home alone again after that night. Years passed, and we're all grown up now, and he still stands by this story. It still freaks him out.